Please have a seat. Thank y'all so much for coming out tonight. So as Bishop stated so eloquently, I keep it real. That's basically what he's saying. When we're talking about Alzheimer's, dementia, and caregiving and family matters, there's no other way but to keep it real. So I always like to start off with the salt and pepper prayer. Y'all know salt and pepper prayer, right? Yeah, I ain't never heard of salt and pepper prayer. So back in my day, before there were electronics, while we eating cereal at the table, I don't know why people say cereal and milk, because don't you eat cereal with milk? I don't know why they say, not unless y'all ever made milk. Have y'all ever made milk? I'm from North and Norway, South Carolina. And we didn't always have milk, but it was this big white box underneath the cabinet. And we wanted that cereal and milk real bad. We added a little water to it. But when you're sitting at the table eating your cereal, the only form of entertainment you have are the salt and pepper shakers. Y'all know what's on the salt and pepper shaker, right? The serenity prayer. Y'all help me out. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. My hope and prayer for you all tonight is that I can share something with you that will help you along your journey if you're caring for someone living with dementia, or if you're supporting someone who's caring for someone living with dementia. Because how many of you know that it's not just the person living with dementia, it is the family living with dementia? What Bishop didn't say is that I do have a personal connection to Alzheimer's and dementia. I helped to support my dad, who was caring for my grandma who developed dementia. And that was something else. It was pretty interesting. You know, I was trying to tell my daddy I was a doctor. He was like, baby girl, I don't mean no harm. I know you a doctor, but you ain't that type of doctor. No shade, but he was really throwing shade. But the biggest piece with him was reality orientation. I don't do reality orientation, and I'm gonna want y'all to stop doing reality orientation. I'll give you an example of what that is. My grandmama had a thing, and if y'all can pull up the slides, that'll be great. She had a thing about somebody stealing her pots. Every day, somebody was stealing her pots. She would call my daddy Jack. Now, his name is Robert Perry. If y'all from Norway, y'all probably know him. He had the body shop going out of Norway towards Denmark. I don't know why his name was Jack. That ain't nobody's nickname. It don't go with Robert, Lee, or Perry. But she would call Jack every day and say, Jack Lee, somebody done came in here and got my pots again. So in his mind, I got to tell Mama the truth. Mama, ain't nobody stole your pots. Not only did he keep saying, ain't nobody stole your pots, he said, don't nobody want your pots. They owe, right? So I knew that wouldn't go well. I was so proud of my grandmama because I didn't know that she could cuss. Not the cuss words. Now, I wasn't proud of but I was just proud of her. She strung that thing together. That sentence was so good. My daddy's blood pressure went up so high, he couldn't go back up there for a minute. But that is because he was trying to change a situation that he couldn't change. It's better to understand what you're dealing with so that way you can work within the parameters, so that way you won't stress yourself out. Next slide. Approximately 35% of family caregivers pass away before the person with a chronic illness, whether it's dementia, whether it's cancer, whether it's congestive heart failure. You know why? Because they taking care of everybody else and they're not taking care of themselves. One of the biggest things that I leave with people, I begin and I leave, is to better understand that dementia itself is not the disease. Dementia is an umbrella. Now I'm gonna give y'all a lot of information, a lot of facts, and we'll have some time for Q&A. I just need for somebody to let me know when I got like 10 or 15 minutes, so that way we can ask questions. It's an umbrella term because it covers a lot of different diseases. The most common type of dementia is what? I am so proud of your parishioners, Bishop, because didn't nobody say old timers. Because y'all know that's not a thing. I mean, you can Google it and it's gonna come up, but it's not a thing. But I'm gonna tell y'all why people call it old timers. Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, or the most common cause, which is why you hear the terms used interchangeably. The second most common type is vascular dementia. Vascular comes about as a result of someone having several mini strokes, causing vascular lesions to the brain. The third most common type of dementia is dementia with Lewy bodies. I consider that the scary dementia because that's when there's visual hallucinations. They actually see people, they actually hear things, and it's real to them. The fourth most common type is frontotemporal dementia, and we've been hearing that a lot in the news with Wendy Williams, with Bruce Willis. But next slide. Dementia itself is a group of symptoms or a set of behaviors that a person displays as a result of having some medical condition impairing their cognitive state. When you hear the term dementia, what are some behaviors you think of? Forgetfulness, memory loss, irritability, confusion. Say that again? Lord, she said indecisive. Well, half the room probably gonna have a little touch of that. But indecisive, can't make a decision. It will affect their ability to engage with other people, and it will also affect their behavior. Next slide. So what is Alzheimer's disease if that's dementia? Alzheimer's disease is the actual disease. It will actually eat away at a person's neurons and nerve cells, the very things you need in order to be who you are. It affects your ability to communicate, it affects your ability to remember things, and it affects your ability to think. When you say indecisive, inability to make decisions. Next slide. Now, which brain do you think has dementia? What are some of the stark differences? What are the things that jump out at you? Color, size. What else? Spaces. You see those spaces? So with a fully functioning, accommodating brain, as you see on your left, information connects at the synapses in your brain, right? And that's when you make a decision to say, hey, I'm gonna put my jacket on because I'm cold, or I'm gonna take my jacket off because I'm hot, or I'm gonna put my arms up like this because I'm mad at my husband. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. You're processing that, but when there is space there, when there are gaps there, there's no connection, which is why they don't remember your name, which is why they don't remember how to make a cup of coffee. They don't remember directions to get back to their home from Walmart, because the disease has affected that part of the brain and the information is not connecting. So when you hear me say, or you hear other professionals say, they are doing the best they can with what they have, they really are. We take for granted what our brain does because we use it all day and every day. It's muscle memory, but it's not until you start to lose it is when you realize, I was pretty smart. I had it going on. So when they start to forget things, and I get to the do's and don'ts in a few minutes, I want you to remember this picture. I know everybody has a story, but remember this picture. Next slide. Now, there are what we call treatable causes of dementia, because remember, dementia is the symptoms, the group of behaviors. Just say if you have a headache and you go to the doctor for a headache, the doctor is not gonna say, I'm diagnosing this person with a headache. So if someone you know and you love is diagnosed with dementia, the very first question you need to ask the doctor is, what type of dementia is it? Or what's causing it? Because it's the behaviors, right? There are treatable causes of dementia, the memory loss, forgetfulness, inability to process and think through things. Number one, when families come to me, it's usually in a crisis. I don't mind y'all calling me when it's a crisis, but can y'all call me sometime, tell me mama doing good? So I can do a high five about, the work that I do as a gerontologist, I help families navigate the long-term care system. I help families put systems in places and practices in place in order to help you manage the care of your loved one in their natural environment. They do very, very well when they're in their home environment, but I'm a realist. Everybody home ain't the same. Sometimes that's just not a good place, right? So when we look at the treatable causes, the very first thing I do, because I'm gonna say Alzheimer's as a last resort. Because a lot of times, the doctor hadn't even diagnosed the person with Alzheimer's disease. You know who diagnosed them? The family, the usher at the church, right? Well, you know your mama got it because her sister, before her first husband, she had it. That don't even go together, right? So I go through all the treatable causes. First thing is medications. What medications are they taking? Are the medications fighting against each other? What are the side effects of the medications? Have they started a new medication? When I say a new medication, I don't mean yesterday or last night. I mean the last 2 weeks. It could cause some changes, memory loss, inability to make decisions, judgment, communication. The next thing I'm gonna look at, thyroid issues, diabetes. These are things that can be treated. Also, dehydration. Dehydration on a senior looks just like late stage dementia. Dehydration typically goes hand in hand with a urinary tract infection because they're not drinking what? Water. They're not hydrating themselves. And let me say, I know they probably don't like to drink water. I don't like to drink water. I drink it because I got a fully functioning brain, so I know why I need to drink water. But why would somebody not like to drink water? Exactly. Ain't got no flavor. It's nasty. It ain't nothing there. And then when you drink water, what happens? You got to go to the bathroom. Have y'all ever driven from Orangeburg on 26 to Columbia? It's always an 18-wheeler flipped over. Now you in traffic for at least 2 hours and forgot to use the bathroom before you left right direction in Orangeburg, right? So they're very, very concrete thinkers. Nutritional imbalances. So when we think about treatable causes of dementia, vitamin B12 deficiency is one of the key elements that could cause dementia-like symptoms. Vitamin B12 promotes healthy blood flow throughout the body, and if you have healthy blood flow throughout the body, you also have healthy blood flow throughout the brain. A lot of times when we think about overall health, we forget about the brain. Our brain is our being. Your brain tells your body what to do and how to do it. And so if your brain is affected, then your behaviors are going to be affected. Substance use and substance abuse. Older people, they drink too. Y'all know that? They smoke a little weed too. I'm sorry, Bishop, I got to keep it real. The other thing too is a lot of our seniors have a lot of aches and pains. So what are they taking? Pain medicine. So we think about the opioid crisis, we typically think about the younger generation, but we got to think about the older population too, because they may be taking opioids and they could become addicted unknowingly to prescription medications. And depression. Depression looks just like dementia on an older person, and they deal with a lot of depression and isolation. Why do you think? They don't have the engagement like they used to have. They could have lost abilities. They could have lost their living arrangements. So we got to think about our loved ones who are older adults. We got to check on them. Like, not just give them a call. We got to physically go and check on them. Just like you like to go see people, they like to see people too. Next slide. Now, I don't know y'all. I know some of y'all. Roz, I ain't going to talk about you. But I'm going to talk about y'all. But take it for love. Let's talk about some of the do's and don'ts. Now that you understand what dementia is, what Alzheimer's is, and what the brain looks like whenever there is a progressive type of dementia, and you also know that there are some things that are treatable, which is why you have to ask the doctor, well, what type of dementia is it? The doctor gonna say, you must have been talking to Macie. Yeah, what's causing it? And I will say the specialist that works with the older population, they are geriatricians. They are very few and far in between. So what happens is our older adults, they see a general practitioner. General practitioner is going to treat the older adult the same way they treat a Gen Xer or a Gen Z. And as you get older, you can't process the medication the same as you would when you were younger. So if you could take your loved one to a senior care practice, Ross, help me out, because we have senior primary care here. Is it senior primary care here in Columbia? That is a geriatric care practice. You have the geriatrician, you have the geriatric nurse, you have the social worker, you have the complete care model. But again, they're very far and few in between. Next slide. So I'm giving you information to share with your general practitioner in the event he or she does not know. The biggest thing when families call me and their loved one is having behaviors. Y'all know y'all call them behaviors, right? So when you hear the term behaviors, do y'all think negative or positive? Why do y'all think negative? Y'all know the definition of behavior? Your response to stimuli. Like you looking at me like that, that's a behavior. And all you're doing is looking, is shaking your head, that's a behavior. You laughing, guess what? Behavior. But when we say behavior, we say it in a negative term. But people with dementia are responding to their environment and responding to stimuli the same way you and I do. For example, Has anybody in here ever taken a Benadryl around 10, 11 o'clock at night? And you call yourself waking up at 5 a.m.? Are you the brightest apple on the tree? Are you the most pleasant person to be around? Okay, because you didn't get enough sleep. So people with dementia, a lot of them don't get enough sleep because as the disease progresses, the brain deteriorates, they have increased anxiety, and the ability to sleep and sleep well begins to deteriorate. So they respond in the same way you and I respond, but you just say they got dementia, that's why they act like that. Well, if they got dementia and they act like that, then what's wrong with you? I'm just saying. You gotta keep in mind the way you engage with them. Your body language, the inflection in your voice, they become very concrete thinkers as the disease progresses. They don't have the ability to think beyond what they see, right? If they can't hear it, see it, touch it, smell it, taste it, then it's not there, right? So what I mean by that is, I can come over here and say, I'm so glad you're here tonight. Do I look like I'm glad you're here tonight? I'm saying I'm glad you're here tonight, but I don't look like I'm glad you're here tonight. They pay attention to your body language. And for some reason, we think that they can't hear or see, right? Y'all know how you might walk in the room and somebody might look at you up and down with a stank face? You automatically know that person might not like you, right? People with dementia think the same thing. They can see and they can hear, so it's very important that you engage with them in a positive way. Next slide. Because they're gonna respond to what they can connect with, and that's what's tangible and that's what's concrete. And I know you're saying, but she get on my nerves. I know, you human, but when you have to have an emotional moment, and I want you to have them, do it away from them. Because they can't process and understand because they think it's because, which it is, but I'm just saying, they can't help it. Remember the brain? Doing the best they can with what they have. So what are some of the things you should do and should not do? Stop overloading them with information. Because what happens is they can remember some things. Someone who has Alzheimer's disease, everybody is different, but you typically see the most recent memories go first. They can remember 50 years ago when they got married, but they can't remember if they ate breakfast that morning. And she calling your brother saying, you know Charlie ain't been over here in about 2 years to feed me. And then the sister calling and say, well, I thought you were supposed to be taking care of mama. She said, but that is because they can remember certain things. Alzheimer's tends to attack the hippocampus first, which is where the most recent memories are stored. So I'm meeting you all for the first time, taking in your faces, your names, where I met you. It's in the short-term memory and the working memory. If the disease is right there, that's all it's gonna go. It's not gonna make its way to the back of the brain. Without Alzheimer's, the memories make its way to the back of the brain, which is why they can recover those memories, because they didn't have the disease then. With the disease, it's not gonna make its way back. So I always say the latest information is the lost information. Be very flexible, be understanding, and be patient. You have to have patience. Can I teach somebody patience? No. Now, I can teach you strategies on how to be patient, but I'm from the country. My mama would always say, what's in you gonna come out you, and if it ain't in you, it can't come out. And so I understand that when I do family planning, I look at the family dynamics and I might compartmentalize certain things. Billy, you can't go over there bathing your daddy because you ain't got no patience and he gonna think you gonna kill him. So that can't be your role, but you do real good with the finances. So you may be able to manage the money, right? Pay for the medications and make sure he gets what he needs. Be very specific in your communication. It's no longer go over there and sit down. That was a lot of directions. You told them go over there and sit down. First of all, who you talking to like that? Because number one, I might have dementia, but I'm still your what? I'm still your mama. They feel it here, not here, they feel it here. But you tell them, go over there and sit down. But what are they doing? Standing there looking at you. Then you get on the phone. You know she don't listen. You know she non-compliant. You know why she just standing there? She don't understand what you said. You said go over there, then sit down. 5 instructions. You got to break it down into small steps. First of all, you got to say hello. Even if you were just in the room 5 minutes ago, because every encounter is a new encounter. So you got to connect with the person every time. And you may say, let's walk. Let's walk. You got to say it several times, the same way, the same inflection. And while you're saying let's walk, guess what you're doing? Walking. Because they can see that. So they begin to mimic what they see. They begin to mimic what they hear. Focus on their feelings, not the facts. Yeah, she was mean to you. But she's mean to you, but she's looking like, come on. When you go get your hair done? Your hair's always like that. You need to do something with your hair. Come on. And then you getting mad because mama say, I need to get my hair done. Well, what does her face look like? Frustrated. She needs something. So don't focus on what she said. Focus on the emotions and the feelings. She is scared. A lot of times when the person is diagnosed with a progressive type of dementia, they've displayed, you probably didn't see it, early signs 15 to 20 years before actual diagnosis. Again, stop talking about them as if they're not there, because they can see and hear. This is a big one, and I know I'm gonna have to hold your hand when I say this, okay? She said, why you coming over here to me? I don't argue with them. Do not go back and forth with them. You wanna acknowledge what they're saying is accurate, correct? You gotta, how you say it, go along to get along. So when my grandmama said somebody was stealing her pots, me and her had CSI up in there. We going through, well, grandma, who you think did it? Like, what you think about that? And my daddy's looking like, that ain't gonna work. Oh, wait, we just gotta keep doing it over and over again. Next slide. Because when you argue with someone and you're in conflict with someone, you're arguing with them, trying to get them to change their what? Their mind is already changing due to no help from you. They got Alzheimer's. So if I encounter it all the time, family members going back and forth with someone who has an actual diagnosis of dementia, I want to know what's wrong with you. I might need to do an assessment on you, but it does get very, very frustrating. When we talk about the behaviors that are challenging, so when you say behaviors, you probably want to describe them a little bit more. They're challenging behaviors, and they can be. Our individuals, they begin to wander away, which is very dangerous. Some can be very combative, but that's their way of communicating, because when the words don't come, the sentences don't come, they use what they have more of, right? Whatever that is, because the disease does not attack the whole brain at one time. It attacks parts and pieces of the brain. For example, how many of y'all are right-handed? If you lost use of your right hand, what hand are you going to use more of? The left hand. So whatever they have, they're going to use more of it. Some individuals, they will start to use words that don't even go with what they're saying, right? For example, they may want to say, I'm looking forward to coming to Bible study tonight. But they may say something like, when I went down there and they do all of that, and I tell you, it's good now. She like, look, he like, got it, that's right. Mm-hmm. You did it right. You can laugh a little bit because I was laughing, so you laugh. But if I'm a little nervous, I'm gonna need you not to laugh, because that means you're not gonna help me, right? But those are the words they know, so they're gonna use them. It doesn't make sense to you, but it makes complete sense to them. So the way you respond to them is everything. A lot of times these challenging behaviors are as a result of who? You. And how you engage with them and how you communicate with them. And you don't know. When you know better, you what? You do better. Is it gonna take time? Yes. Which is why you need help, which is why you need support, and which is why I'm so thankful to Bishop and First Lady for having me come here tonight, because years ago, churches didn't talk about this. You just supposed to pray that thing away. But it wasn't going nowhere but up. Numbers going up. Every 66 seconds, someone develops Alzheimer's disease. Over 7 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease now. Orangeburg County, 8th in the nation. We have some things coming down the pike in Orangeburg. And the people in Orangeburg think they ain't talking about them, like my mom and them. I said, they're talking about y'all. You Orangeburg County. But we'll talk about in a little bit why some of those things occur. In order to prevent these challenging behaviors from occurring, and again, this is not everybody, it's not going to work every time, but this is your arsenal of strategies. Keep the communication going. Stop putting them in a room, closing the door, and leaving them by themselves. Because everybody with a brain is at risk. You could be tomorrow. It could be brewing right now. So always keep the communication going and keep it effective, right, for them. If they don't want to take their medication right now at 8 o'clock a.m., guess what? Try it again later, like at 8:05. Now you got to leave the room and come back. You can't just be over, take the medicine. You got to like try different things, right? But if they don't want to do it now, try it again later. Explore medication for behaviors. Now, there are some medications that cause agitation. That's a side effect. You got to read the side effects. But let me tell you something about side effects. Y'all know that that long piece of paper y'all get from Walgreens, and y'all don't never read it? Because if you read it, you won't what? Take the medicine. For seniors, those side effects may not be typical side effects. Like the side effects may say insomnia, but they're having stomach issues. It's still a side effect, so you want to read it, because if there's an issue, you want to talk with their doctor about not necessarily changing the medication. It could be changing the time, but you, not the doctor. Let the doctor know what's happening so that way they can make a change if necessary. And I always advise my family members to go to one pharmacy. So that way, you can get to the pharmacist way quicker than you can get to a doctor, right? And the pharmacist can do what we call a medication reconciliation to see if the medications are fighting against each other. And y'all don't have to write any of this down because everything I'm saying is in my book. My book is not that big, so y'all will read it, right? But everything is in the book. This is important. Establish a routine and stick to that routine. How many of y'all can ride a bike? Wonderful. It's always one that can't. Y'all didn't raise your hand, did you? Well, let me ask you a question, First Lady. Can you tell somebody how to ride a bike? You got to show them. When you get on the bike, you just automatically ride it, right? That's like people that drive a stick shift. How many of y'all can drive a stick shift? That is so empowering, right, ladies? You can, pop a clutch and all that. You can't tell nobody how to do it. You could just do it. That's called muscle memory, right? You don't have to think about it, right? So when you have a routine, like you have your typical routine in the morning, you get up, you bathe, you pray, blase. But if that routine is interrupted, you've missed a couple of steps, right? I always know when my mama calls me in the morning, it interrupts my flow. And this is how I know that my mama called and interrupted my flow. If I'm on my way to work and I'm feeling a little different under my arms, it's like, why I'm sweating? It's cold. Well, I ain't really sweating. I forgot to put on deodorant. And I'm saying, well, how I forgot to put on deodorant? My mama called me and interrupted my routine, right? Because I'm not thinking about it, I'm just doing it. Somebody with dementia whose brain cells are deteriorating, who is having difficulty thinking through things, they have muscle memory if they have the routine. For example, if they pray before they go to bed, but this particular night they didn't pray for whatever reason, maybe you didn't remind them, maybe it wasn't dark enough, I don't know, but they can't sleep at all that night. That is because their routine was interrupted. But first you have to establish a routine. You don't establish it for them, you allow them to establish it for themselves, but you have to monitor what they enjoy doing. You still have to view them as a person. They are not a dementia patient. I don't like that. Raj, if anybody says it, my skin gonna crawl, and I'm gonna say, I don't like that. They are a person living with dementia. Just like everybody in here got a little something wrong with you. Got a little pressure, got a little cholesterol, but we don't say cholesterol Shirley. Somebody here named Shirley? Shirley happens to have cholesterol. So we wanna focus on the person first. You wanna offer distractions. If they need to do something that's healthy, that's beneficial, like take their medication or get dressed or bathe and they're having a difficult time completing the task, you can distract them, but a pleasant distraction. Like you can start singing, show them a magazine, so that way you can get the task accomplished, but stop overloading them. A lot of times when our individuals have behaviors that are challenging, we start to bring in people. A whole lot of people. A whole lot of people around someone who don't want to be around people is very what? Very overwhelming, threatening. Because if you are in a fearful situation, you're going to do three things: fight, flight, or freeze. But for someone with dementia, we call it aggression, non-compliance. We give it a name as opposed to them responding to their environment the same way you and I do. Next slide. Engage them in meaningful activities. So when I say meaningful activities, what do I mean? Think about our seniors, traditionally, it's probably born in 20s, 30s. What's meaningful to them? Church. Make sure you make that available to them, right? But you say, well, Mama, you can't go to church because you had that shirt on yesterday. But she's going to have it on again today. Thank God she got on a what? A shirt. And that's why when congregations are in tune and better understand the disease process and what happens, you're more compassionate. You ain't whispering and talking about people. You better understand what the family caregiver is going through. What else do they do that's meaningful? Who said something about children and grandchildren? What'd you say, Ross? Seeing the children, grandchildren. That's meaningful to them. So they want to continue to keep it going. But you say, oh, they got dementia. They don't even know who they are. Yeah, they do. I promise you. How many people are taking care of somebody with dementia? Have they ever strung a complete sentence together and it made you wonder, do you really have it? At any given point in time, there could be moments of lucidity. Washing the dishes, cooking. Now, ain't nobody gonna eat it, but they can still, cook, It's meaningful to them. When you do meaningful activities, you do well, right? You do well, and it's not gonna cure the disease, but it could help in delaying the progression of the disease that's causing dementia. Possible helps. Now, this is for people who don't have dementia or Alzheimer's or progressive type. What we know now is that approximately 1/3 of the dementias that we see, Alzheimer's, frontotemporal, vascular, could be significantly reduced with lifestyle choices. What do I mean by lifestyle choices? Y'all know what you eat. You got to eat healthy. I just saw a report that came out today that talked about the plant-based protein things having high rates of lead in it. I know. It's always something. You got to be mindful about what you're putting in your body, because when you have inflammation in your body, you also have inflammation in your brain. So maintaining a healthy diet, making sure you're exercising and staying active. I don't mean you got to go to Planet Fitness. You know how they rope you in with them $10 and you won't ever use it. But you can stay active around your neighborhood, walking, doing chair exercises in the house, managing chronic illnesses. We know that high blood pressure increases your risk, high cholesterol increases your risk, obesity, diabetes, all those treatable causes. So what that means is if you treat those areas and practice prevention measures, you can reduce your risk. Doesn't mean you're not gonna get it, but you can significantly reduce your risk. And I'll take that any day. Mental activity. I don't really like to say training your brain, but I do like to say exercising your brain. Learn new information. Stop looking at the same Lifetime movies and crying at the same spot every time. You know what I'm talking about, right? Every time. And I hate when my husband comes, you see, shut up, this is the part where I cry. You about to mess the whole thing up. I have to start the movie all over again. You want to do things that's going to challenge your brain. Learn to play a new instrument. Go new places. Learn a new language. Meet new people. As a matter of fact, if somebody that you don't like, give them a call. That's going to be really challenging because you got to think about what you're going to say to this person, right? As long as you're thinking, you're building cognitive reserve, and you can significantly reduce your risk. Manage stress. Get plenty of sleep. Next slide. Do you know how many hours of sleep an adult should get? Yeah, y'all look all over the place. But between, what did you say? 7 to 9 hours. Y'all getting enough sleep? Somebody say, whoo, who said that? Oh, I'm serious about my sleep. I am very serious about my sleep. Getting enough sleep significantly reduces your risk, because when you go to sleep, like during the day, you're engaging with so many people, doing so many different things, you're wearing and tearing on your brain. Just like you do your body, you wear and tear on your brain. When you go to sleep, your brain repairs the damage from the day. I'm not talking about that play sleep, when your eyes blinking because you're really not asleep, like that REM sleep. So it's very important, and these are things that are attainable. This is just a quick list of possible causes of behavioral challenges. Notice dementia is not up there, because usually there is a cause for the behaviors for them, just like it is for you. It could be the environment. It could be the fact that they're in pain. When we think about pain in our individuals with dementia, approximately 90% of individuals who have dementia are in pain and they're not receiving any pain medication. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people with dementia who are in pain, they have behaviors, they're not getting the medication? They can't tell you what's going on, but actually they can. They can't tell you in words, but they can tell you in action. It's a little aggressive, but that's because they need something. They're in pain. Anybody ever had a toothache? I don't even like to say that, because I feel like if I'm going to say it, I'm going to get one. I had a toothache one time on Martin Luther King Day. I got a black dentist. Sorry, Dr. Thompson, you wasn't in. But she made it happen for me. I was like, you want to support black businesses, but you know what I mean? She made it happen for me, though. But you can't even concentrate when you're in pain. And I can tell somebody. So that moment when I couldn't get Dr. Thompson on Martin Luther King Day, the first part of that moment, I say, Doc, see how the people with dementia feel. They can't get the pain addressed. But you really can understand what somebody with dementia is going through by walking in your own shoes. But when you view them as a person. Next slide. I think we're down to questions in a few minutes. Non-prescription therapy, because we know the medications just kind of treat the symptoms, and I'll talk about the new treatment in a few minutes, but you want to focus on non-drug therapy or non-drug treatment. Pet therapy, like Bra said earlier, with the younger kids, it brightens their day. It does make them feel good, and it makes them feel hopeful. Also, physical therapy. Many times I have physical therapists come in with my clients and do in-home therapy. They're getting engagement and they're getting exercise. And then music therapy. You ever heard of music in memory? Someone could lose their ability to speak. They come into the house of the Lord. They start singing that song. They sing it word for word. You know why? It's in the back of the brain. Next slide. And music makes everybody feel good, even people with dementia, because they're what first? People. Right? So this list of medications is for dementia. It typically treats the symptoms, so the memory loss, the forgetfulness, the confusion. If the medications are given early enough, the doctors will typically prescribe Aricept first, and then as the disease progresses, the doctor will add in Namenda. Sometimes if neither of those medications work well, they may bring about Exelon. Haven't seen Residine too much, but that's still on the market. Next slide. So that's for the symptoms. It does nothing for the actual disease. Now, due to the power of research and awareness opportunities such as this, we do have 2 new treatments now that treat early stages of dementia, not early onset. Early onset is if it's diagnosed prior to the age of 65. So if the person is in early stages of Alzheimer's, these are the 2 treatments, and they're infusions that have been approved by FDA. And we had a battle with it too, because insurance wasn't covering it, but insurance covers it now. And also, so Medicare covers it and Medicaid covers it. So if someone is duly eligible, they wouldn't have to pay for the treatments. I have not met anyone in in this area that's gotten the treatments so far. The doctors have to be a part of the system that's going to administer these treatments. They're down in Charleston, they're down in Hilton Head. So you would have to find a doctor that administers these treatments. And I heard some mixed reviews early on when these treatments first came out, but now I'm hearing more positive reviews. And what the disease does, it does not cure it, but it does treat it. And what that does is it will promote and prolong quality of life. So the disease would still progress, but not at a faster pace, if that makes sense. So it is a treatment, and that is a positive. Next slide. And we're happy about that. Questions? Everybody understood everything I said, huh? Oh, y'all did? What y'all gonna do differently? There you go. She's treating them like that. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Dr. Smith. We have a couple of questions that have been submitted. The first one is, what do you suggest for individuals who have several family members that have had and died from Alzheimer's disease, all on the same family tree? My father, his twin brother, my uncle, and 2 aunts.
So what we know about the contributing factors. So you typically think that if you have a frontline relative that has Alzheimer's disease, you're probably gonna get it. That's not necessarily true. We know that genetics is like 1 to 2% of the risk factor. What's more of a risk factor is lifestyle. But if you can identify a lineage of individual who actually has a confirmed diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease from the doctor, not from, the family and the community, then I would recommend that the person who's concerned about it, they can get a blood test. So there is a blood test now for individuals who have concerns or who may be having some memory concerns, which we all do, because everybody forgets what they go in the kitchen for, right? Open refrigerator. I don't know why I'm open refrigerator, I ain't cooking nothing, but I'm just saying I just pretend sometimes. Like, oh, I forgot to get that from the grocery store. But they can get, I think it's called a p-tau blood test that can test for the plaques, the APP, the Alzheimer's protein, to determine if they could be at risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. And what that does is it affords someone an opportunity to plan. We were talking earlier about planning for long-term care. Many people don't have long-term care insurance. Paying for in-home care, paying for out-of-home care is a lot of money. You're talking average 3 to 5, some of y'all are doing it right now, $3,000 to $5,000 a month. If you don't plan for that, then it's gonna hit you like a ton of bricks. So I would recommend that is when I would recommend getting a blood test to determine if that person is at risk for developing it.
The next question is, how do you help a parent with dementia through the sundowning process?
Yeah, so sundowning is a real syndrome. It's not something that's just thrown around, and typically it could happen at any time, but we typically see it when the actual sun is going down between 3, 6 or 7 p.m. and when the time changes like it's changing right now, their behaviors and personality and characteristics are probably all over the place because they're very concrete thinkers. So let me ask y'all something. What do y'all do when the sun is going down? Winding down. What does that mean, winding down? You getting off of work, you tending to the kids, y'all cooking dinner. They tell me I'm just warming it up, but I be cooking. You're doing something. Someone with dementia, you know what they doing? And now they're getting what? Agitated, anxious. There's no routine, right? So they gotta find something. Do y'all know how JJ used to find the art supplies on Good Times? Y'all know I said watch Good Times. They gotta find something to do. Y'all know the saying, idle minds, idle hands. They need something tangible to do. So some of the tips, you can either close the blinds so that way they don't see that the sun is going down because they're very concrete thinkers. Make sure they are engaged in something during that time of day that they enjoy doing. So basically you're distracting them. If they have not been taking melatonin, because some of y'all take melatonin before you need melatonin. Melatonin is a natural substance that induces sleepiness. As we age, we lose some of that. So you can talk to the doctor about prescribing. It's over the counter, but I still like for the doctor to prescribe even over-the-counter medications because it could interact with something else. That could also help. And it's a couple of other tips, but the biggest thing is to ensure that they're engaged around that time of day. If you can get them to go to sleep around that time of day, that'll be good too, but guess what? They're gonna be up by 12, 1, 2 o'clock. So pick your battles. That may be a time of day where you riding out. But again, they need to be active during that time of day because remember the preserved memory, the memories in the back of the brain, you never know what time of life or time frame they're in. They could be thinking that they're in, the 80s when they were in their 20s or what have you. So you just gotta, you really have to respond to their behaviors and their responses, but that's why the sundowning happens. Now, if you take them to the doctor, well, you'll probably take them to the hospital because you think it's an emergency, right? It is a very scary time. Be mindful of that when you take them to the hospital, because the hospital has hospitalists. And so that hospitalist does not know your loved one, and it looks just like a mental health break. So they're gonna treat what they see. Behavioral health and mental health medications are not recommended. I didn't say that they shouldn't take it, but they're not recommended for the older adult population, so those over the age of 65. What happens is it could actually cause the behaviors to get worse. And you say to me, well, the doctors don't know that? Not the hospitalists, because if they knew it, they wouldn't give it to them. But that's just a system that we're in. I mean, we don't have a lot of geriatricians. This is a hospitalist. This is an emergency situation. So that's why it's ideal to better understand what could be causing these behaviors and how to try to prevent. You can't change the behaviors, but you can try to prevent them from occurring by understanding some strategies. I hope that answers the question.
This is a two-part question. So it says, are there early warning signs that we can try to become more attentive to? It's part one. Part two, can a doctor or gerontologist help identify the type of dementia when it's identified at an early stage?
Yes, so some early signs, again, there's a thing called subjective cognitive impairment, which means the person knows that their memory is fading before anybody else knows. And so I'm assuming that's coming from a family member, want to recognize signs of a loved one, what those signs may look like. If you see that they become very irritated and irritable over what we would think would be absolutely nothing. I'm not talking about the people who get a little attitude when y'all come into somebody's kitchen and all the cabinet doors are open. That's you? You got a problem with that? Well, my cabinet door is gonna be open because I gotta see what I don't have. You see what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that, but just say you lose a pen. The average person, if they lose a pen, it's like, oh, I'll just get another one. But this person may be really, oh my God, really anxious and agitated and frustrated about a pen. And you say, you act like that over a pen. You know why? Because they've already had memories fading over years, and now it's becoming worse, right? When they start asking questions about things they should already know how to do, such as if they've always baked a cake every Saturday, my grandma baked cake every Saturday, she ended up starting to call it, she stopped calling it cake, she started calling it sweetbread. I thought she was talking about something else, but she was talking about the same thing. But if they start calling you, asking you, well, how much sugar do I put in the cake? How much milk do I put in the macaroni and cheese? And if you don't catch it early enough, because you think that's normal aging, people forget all the time, but people tend to not forget the things that they do every day, or the things that they do regularly, or if they forget church is on Sunday. Now I'm not talking about if you've been on vacation for about 2 weeks, you don't know what day it is. You can rationalize that. If there's someone who always remembered birthdays and now they're forgetting birthdays, that's different. So that's why you gotta know the person. And the second part of that question was?
Second part was, can a doctor or gerontologist help identify the type of dementia when it's identified at an early age?
The neurologist, yes, great question. The neurologist would do that. Now, a lot of times a doctor who's practicing medicine, and the operative word is practicing, you know you and you know your loved one way better than any doctor does. So stop going in there diagnosing them. Yeah, I think mama got dementia. You're gonna walk out of there with Aricept. Right? So that's like my book kind of takes you through the things that you should expect your primary care physician to do. And if dementia or Alzheimer's, that's a neurocognitive disorder, a progressive type of dementia, it is. If it's a neurocognitive disorder, then you need to see a neurologist. So the neurologist is typically the one that should diagnose if it's Alzheimer's, if it's vascular, because they can actually see stroke activity. They can see if there's any brain bleeds. They can see reduced blood vessels. So they can determine based on, exclusion of similar conditions that it could be vascular, it could be Alzheimer's, or it could be mixed, because they can't tell which one it is. So it's usually Alzheimer's and vascular when you see mixed. So I hope that answers the question. So if you want to get a diagnosis, the neurologist absolutely does need to be on the team.
this individual says, as a caregiver for both parents, I never get a break. How can balance be brought so I can truly get a break when I don't have reliable help?
That's a good one. I would encourage everyone to get connected with the Department on Aging, which is the Area Agency on Aging. I think here it's Midlands Area Agency on Aging. They have respite vouchers up to $1,500 if the funds are still available. You could locate someone, or you can actually hire someone from a reputable home care company. I have 3 that I typically recommend to people. Now, people are gonna be people. Some people are gonna call out of work just like, y'all call out of work, right? They call out of work. But I would say really do your due diligence in interviewing the home care companies. One of the biggest questions I ask is, what's the backup plan? Because this person's needs are not gonna change because this person calls out. And so there needs to be a backup plan, but they can get the vouchers from the Area Agency on Aging, and they should probably use a licensed home care company. However, they're gonna be more expensive. But I don't know, there may be something that the church may implement at some given point in time. There are churches now that are offering respite services at the church. You can get grants for it through the Department on Aging that can offer a safe space where that person can have reliable respite options, but you gotta just do your due diligence. And there are agencies out there, there are people out there who are trained to provide care, but you still gotta interview them. So I would just recommend that. Make sure you get the voucher and make sure that you reach out to a licensed home care company if the church is not doing anything. But that may be something you could bring to the bishop and first lady and say, hey, Department on Aging got this grant. It's called the, I can't remember, I call it the cafeteria grant. But they're working with churches on establishing respite communities within churches.
How would you approach beginning to take away various things from someone dealing with dementia, like car keys, them cooking, or them staying alone, etc.?
So those are 3 distinct areas. So I'm gonna try to generalize the response. You don't take nothing from an adult, especially somebody who raised you, birthed you, and got you the way you are, with dementia or not. Now, I ain't saying let them drive, kill themselves or somebody else. However, the keys might mysteriously go missing. You got what I'm saying? They have to be the one to make the decision not to drive. Even though you established and created the space where they made the decision, right? They go out to crank up the car, and guess what? It don't crank. It don't crank. You call JoJo them from up under the tree, disconnect the battery. That's what we did with my grandmama, but it didn't work because she was like, my daddy had a body shop. Jackie Lee, you can fix it. You know what I mean? But he really couldn't fix it because he couldn't find the parts. You got to be on top of your game because you never know what part of the therapeutic field, Pat Bishop, is a therapeutic field. It ain't just a regular lie, it's a therapeutic one that's helping them get through the moment. But you don't take it from them, you strategize and remove it from their space, from their vision, from the acknowledgement. If they always want to drive the car, why is the car in the driveway? Out of sight, out of mind. So there are different strategies for different elements that you want to implement, but the biggest thing is stop treating them like a child because they're not. Y'all know what's a saying, twice a child? I don't like that. I just posted a video. Next slide, sir. I just posted a video on my YouTube, and the people just going. They a child twice because you gotta, if they need diapers and stuff, that don't mean they're a child. They just adult. They need diapers. You get what I'm saying? Because it's how you treat them. Going back to what I said earlier, the communication and engagement is very, very, very key. You still have to treat them like the adult that they are, but you have to create the environment where they can make decisions for themselves that's gonna be a good decision. For example, if it is 85 degrees outside, it's hot, you don't wanna give them a choice between a sweatsuit and a short set, Because 50% chance they're gonna choose the what? Sweatsuit, go out there in the Columbia heat and die. That was your fault. You gotta give them 2 appropriate choices, so no matter what they choose, it's okay. So you have to create the environment so that way they make the decisions. Ladies, y'all know how men think they're making the decisions, but they really ain't. The same way, the same strategy. Not you, Bishop, I'm talking about the other one. Any other pressing questions? I don't know what time we got to wrap it up. No? Okay.
All right, the next question. Depression was listed as a cause of dementia. What about general anxiety and constant worry?
Yes, it is. Stress. Stress can kill you. There is a such thing as chronic stress, because you got to keep in mind it's all attacking your brain. Anything that attacks your brain can increase your risk of developing progressive types of dementia. That's an excellent question, because I think we take for granted our stress levels. You can't eliminate stress, because if you eliminate stress, then you would. You probably dead, but you have to be able to manage your stress. When people say don't let people stress you out, seriously, because they're gonna be walking around here alive and you're gonna be walking around dead. If that's the thing. So stress does increase your risk. Anxiety, frustrations, absolutely. Because that's going to increase your what? Blood pressure. If you were one of those people when you're real anxious, you eat a lot, so now it's going to increase your risk of obesity, diabetes, all those things increase your risk of developing Alzheimer's, so it goes hand in hand.
Next question. How does menopause impact dementia?
I don't even know. What I think happens there is, and there's ongoing studies about, menopause and Alzheimer's and dementia. I mean, it messes with your psyche. Y'all know, ladies, men, y'all ain't got no right to laugh or say nothing. Y'all got to have a straight face while we talking about this. Straight face. My husband had a nerve to ask me the other night, you might be going through what's that thing called? So first of all, let's cut this conversation short right now. Your life depends on it, right? But menopause, that's just like pregnancy brain, or you might hear people say chemo brain, but it does affect cognition overall. But is it a direct indication that increases your risk of Alzheimer's? I don't have that knowledge, because you're going to go through it anyway. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But you can have compensatory strategies to ensure that you're still as sharp as you can be and continue to engage your brain.
All right, we can do like 2 more. My parents are dropping and losing credit cards in public places. Thank God for honest people getting in touch with me to turn them back in. Any tips on how to safely assist them with their finances and their credit cards?
I got a lot of questions. Like, they just dropping them? Like, is it a hole in the look, Bishop said, well, like, is it a hole in the pocketbook? I mean, so let me take it from this point. If they need assistance with finances and they won't allow you to manage their finances, the reason they won't allow you to manage their finances is because you're telling them that you need to manage their finances. You have to strategize. So if there's an issue with the credit card, then that credit card might need to be cut off, right? Not taken away from, because you don't take nothing away from them, right? Because they made the choice, this is theirs, they're independent. However, you strategize and they can't use the credit card. But I'm saying that just really in a vacuum because I don't have any other details. A lot of times we tell them that we're going to restrict them from doing certain things, as opposed to just, it has to look normal, right? It has to look very normal. They have to continue to have their credit cards, but it doesn't work. So they're not in danger. The only time is when they go to Walmart and they got about $300 worth of groceries on the counter and the credit card doesn't work. Well, that's a problem for the Walmart to me. But I would say just manage the finances on the back end. It still has to look normal, but on the back end, they may only have a couple of dollars on it, or just you're creating a space to where it's not dangerous for them. and that they're going to deplete their financial security. But a lot of times we're the problems because we're telling them what we're doing and what we're restricting, and they're going to fight you because they're fighting. And he said, yes, like absolutely they should, because they're trying to fight you and hold on to the very piece of independence that they have left. So you have to create the environment to whereas it's safe for them, but it looks normal for them, if that makes sense.
All right. My mother has MS and dementia symptoms. Is this a type of disorder that could escalate the dementia?
It could. And multiple sclerosis, and that's it's a neurological condition. Also like Parkinson's, Pick's disease. It could exacerbate, cognitive loss. So it's very important that the primary care physician manages those symptoms. It's very important that if there are any changes, I don't care if it's the smallest change, like language changes or inability to do something they've always been able to do. The doctor needs to know that so that way they can manage those medications, whatever they may be. And it could be the medication that they're taking for the MS could be causing it. It just depends. But because those conditions do affect the neurological space, it definitely could have some hand in hand. Yeah. But it's not Alzheimer's. It's not, dementia with Lewy body. It's not vascular, so it's not something that's the dementia causing something that's progressive. But MS, of course, is. So, definitely want to manage that closely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Wonderful questions. All right. So yeah, I'm done. So this is how you can follow me. I'm on YouTube, Just Ask Dr. Macie. I have a host of videos out there. I have some one-on-one sessions, all that good stuff. And at Dr. Macie P. Smith for social media. And I know y'all on social media. I had a 90-year-old Mr. Bob hit me up on Facebook Messenger. I called him to make sure it was real. Hey, how you doing? I said, Miss, did you just message me? He said, mm-hmm. I say, okay. He was 90. His wife was like 89. They were doing pretty good. But I know y'all are on there, so definitely follow me and connect there. I think that's it. One more slide, I think. My book is available in the vestibule. Did I say that right? I can't, I'm country. I can't never say that right. So in the vestibule, they're $10, but they're also audio. If y'all don't want to read even the 65-page book, it is on audiobook on Amazon, so you can get it there. But thank you all so much. Bishop, thank you so much for having me, First Lady. I enjoyed this immensely. Thank you.
Awesome. Stay right there.
Oh, yes, sir.
I want to show you something.
Okay.
I want to show you something. And I'm asking for a friend.
Okay.
Okay. Is this just comical or something we need to be concerned about? Maybe I came across this today. And okay. I'm asking for a friend.
You asked for a friend, okay.
Okay.
Okay, go to the bathroom. Oh, Lord, I got to start all over again. Oh, my God. Right, don't even worry about it. Huh?
They're just asking for a friend. Is that just comical stuff?
That is
called,
something
we need to be concerned about?
No, that is called normal age memory impairment.
What age?
Look, he said, what age? Whatever age you are, right? But you see how she came back because she noticed immediately that she forgot. If it's a progressive type of dementia, they're not going to notice that quickly. that they've forgotten, and it's gonna get progressively worse. If you have not experienced that, I need to do an assessment on you out there in the hall, in the vestibule. But that's no age. That was funny.
Okay.
It's okay to laugh.
It's okay to laugh. I just want to make sure, because I'm like, I know some people like that.
Yeah, you know some people
I
like
know
that.
some people. I'm just concerned about people in the congregation.
I understand. And you should be, Bishop, yeah.
Come on, let's thank God again for Dr. Smith. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I told you this was going to be good.